We're here with Nyman, and we were watching the last matchup actually go down, and you were really commenting on Zalae's play on the Mage. How did you think he did?
Yeah, on the Mage. I was speaking about Shaman against Freeze Mage. Like the way he played and like the way he drew. There was one questionable play about when the Doomsayer went out from Nightria. I think it was on turn 4. And the way Zalae decided not to kill the Doomsayer, actually I think it won him the game because he kept the Jade Lighting to get rid of the second Doomsayer. So yeah, that was really smart.
Yeah, now of course Zalae is going to be playing yet again, and this time it's going to be against PF. As you can see, this board behind us has been keeping track of all of the predictions of all of the pros here in Kiev in the venue, and it looks like you're predicting Zalae to come out on top here. What's your reasoning for that?
Well, in the beginning of the tournament, I already told you that lineup-wise, I think that Zalae has the best lineup in this tournament. So the way I think about it, he should win the tournament.
Yeah, we're going to have to see how this goes. It's going to be Zalae versus PF. Let's throw it over to the casters and get this one underway.
Oh, man.
Oh,
well,
man.
Zalae, you actually said it yesterday. Oh, was that even 2 days ago? That you think Zalae will win this time, and now the second player is actually saying that Zalae will take it. So it seems like, well, lineup-wise, he might be favorite. Although we have seen a lot of surprises in this tournament already when it comes to like the matches when someone is being favorite, but at the same time the underdog takes it in a convincing fashion.
Anything can happen in Hearthstone. You can have a pretty favored lineup and still, you know, maybe you make a mistake here and there. Maybe your opponent gets a little lucky here and there. That's why it's double elimination. So you can get unlucky and still be able to make it through. But Zalae being in the winner's bracket with the best lineup, so close to the finish of the tournament, I have to continue saying he's got a really, really good shot to be able to take this one.
This will be the third match of the day. We overall will have 6 matches today, so one more than yesterday. So it will be a very long day, and it actually has a factor because in this tournament we actually say it's double elimination, but it's not exactly double elimination because in the final there's no upside of going from the winner's bracket. You just go into the final match and you just play it, and if you win, you win. If you lose, you lose, and you have second place. But if you go for the winner's bracket, you play less matches, and they're not directly after each other.
Right. So if you have to go through the loser's bracket, then you have to play the first loser's bracket match, then the second loser's bracket match, and then the finals match all in a row.
3 in a row.
Where the other guy, the winner of this match between PF and Zalae, gets to go, you know, sit on the couch, take a nap, kick back, and wait for the other 2 matches to get played out, and then be fully refreshed and ready to go for the finals. So that's their advantage.
Exactly. And when you think about it, playing 3 matches, best of 7 in Conquest with such a diversified lineup for every single player.
Lots of control too.
Exactly. It can be actually 6, 7, maybe even 8 hours
right.
in a row.
We were just talking about scheduling for getting our flights because we have to go home in the morning, and we're like, well, if the tournament goes long, we might have to push our flights back or do something so that we can actually be here to cast it.
Yeah, exactly. You have your flight at like 5:45 a.m., right?
Yeah.
Mine is like 6 a.m. It might be the case that in a break we'll have to go to the hotel, take our bags here, and then go straight from here to the airport. So
cast it on the cab to the airport, do something crazy.
Yeah, but it's no one expected it to be so long.
Yeah,
Can happen.
It can happen. So with these control matchups, it can go extremely long.
Okay.
We're having a little bit of technical difficulties with some of the microphones right now. Lothar's having some...
I'm not sure if you can hear me or not now.
Now it's fine, though. So we've recovered it extremely quickly.
I did it with my finger. No, I just, I did something here.
Okay. And you're a tech wizard. You just touched it and it fixed it.
Exactly.
The golden touch of Lothar.
I just got a primordial glyph and I knew what to touch.
Haveling booked it. There you go. Did you bless one of the players with your magic before the game?
I did bless RDU and he lost. So.
Oh, geez. Then maybe it's not that much of a golden touch.
Yeah, maybe it doesn't work on everyone. Anyway. So. But now we'll be watching Zalae and PF, right, when it comes to the winners matches. And those lineups are very interesting against each other because Zalae, first of all, he has some nutty cards. Like he plays Onyxia, he plays Black Knight in his decks.
Yeah, greedy cards.
Extremely greedy cards, like an example, Pyros.
Yeah.
it's
sure.
when you think about it, it's 18 mana in one card because you have a 2 mana Pyrus, 6 mana Pyrus, and a 10 mana Pyrus. But in some matchups, it doesn't matter how mana does it cost because the matches are just going to the fatigue. So
right,
you're going to play
like
every single card.
The Paladin, for example, that PF has brought, it's a super slow control Paladin that doesn't really have a clear win condition besides Tyrion and Primordial Drakes, which don't finish games out that quickly. So Zalae will have time to get the value out of those cards, and that's why those kind of anti-control cards are in his decks. And I think he's got the tech to be able to do it, but we're going to go to a quick interview right now with the players, get some pre-game banter going on.
StarLadder I-League StarSeries Season 3 finalist, OMPF. StarLadder I-League StarSeries Season 3 finalist, Zalae!
All right, we are here. PF versus Zalae. Who is going to advance to the finals and who is going to be knocked down to the loser's bracket? Interesting decks from both of these players. Zalae playing an anti-control lineup. Happened to hit the meta read kind of spot on for this tournament. A lot of players playing control decks, and we see in PF's lineup he has a lot of control decks. He has the Taunt Warrior, a very heavy control deck. He has the Control Paladin. It's got control in the name, as well as a Jade Shaman in there, all kind of targeted by Zalae's decks.
Yep. But I have to say, PF, when he was playing against RDU, he was spot on.
Oh, yeah. He plays these control mirrors fantastically.
Especially the Paladin mirror match was well played by PF. He was kind of baiting out RDU to follow his lead, and RDU fell for it. And that was like a situation when both players were stalling, but at the same time, it did benefit PF in that mid game. But all in all, RDU was favored in that matchup and just found the winning play 2 turns before the final draws.
That was an insane game to watch because PF's deck compared to RDU's deck, if you look at the threat density, RDU has like 2 or 3 more threats than PF has.
Yeah.
And he wasn't able to actually win it because RDU was able to still clench it out. But the PF set himself up in a position where he was almost able to win that matchup, even though he was out-threated by so much. So he's just a player that has been really showing he can dominate these control mirror matches, play towards the long game, and that's what he needs to do against Zalae. These are going to be some intense control games. You have to be thinking long-term, planning how you use your resources. See if he's able to do it here with the Shaman, Jade Shaman, up against the mid-range. And I made air quotes because
exactly.
It's a mid-range opening to this Paladin deck, but then it curves into just huge late-game bombs with a Nixia at the top end. The Black Knight's also in there. Some extra tech. Very greedy mid-range Paladin.
This deck is very curvy, right? It starts at 1 mana with Tide Colors, and it ends up with an Onyxia at 9.
Yeah, 1 through 9 curve, which is kind of what you need against a lot of the control decks. You just extend into the late game after they try and deal with your early pressure. You know, after a Volcano or a Lightning Storm comes out to clear your board, you then just plop down more on top of that. You never run out of gas. But PF does wind up with one of the better matchups for his Jade Shaman here. It has the tools to find success here with the Hex and the Devolve, able to get in a lot of work against the mid-range Murloc Paladin.
Giving in a little bit of thought when it comes to the Mulligan, and Zalae keeps everything.
Just the Hydrologist was kept. A little bit of a spectator bug there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say, that is a really strange keep by Zalae. Oftentimes you want a mulligan for the early minions, try and snowball out this Murloc curve, and he's able to get there with it. He's going to most likely coin out the Hydrologist, try and go for the Rock Pool, buff these minions with War Leader to take favorable trades, to push aggressively on the board.
He has a really fantastic curve.
Yeah, yeah. It kind of falls off after 3, which is the consequence of having some of these heavier cards in your deck. But the heavier cards usually make up for it at the end of the day, even if your curve gets a little bit messed up, because the aggro decks can't really punish your curve too hard. I mean, the control decks can't really punish you too hard for missing your curve a little bit.
Exactly. One of those cards that can punish you would be Jade Claw, an example, which can kill the Hydrologist, but at the same time, if you're running away with a Hunter on turn 2 that buffs the Hydrologist to 3/3, then you know that there's no easy way of killing those minions. So even if a Milestone Portal with Jade Claws happens, that kills on the 1 minion, you still have some value. Turn 3 Warrior will buff your left Murloc, so it's actually amazing when you think about it.
It's a risk worth taking, that's for sure. So Zalae's hoping he does not see a Lightning Bolt or Jade Claws come out here to clear off his Hydrologist so he can land that buff. PF, none of those tools available for him. He's got the choice between either Maelstrom Portal or Totem Pass. It's clearly just going to be a Totem Pass.
He hit the best Totem, but I can't imagine that Zalae will leave that alive.
Yeah. The Searing Totem might actually be better in this situation because
Yeah.
it puts 1 damage on the minion, but yeah, it's pretty rough for PF starting out the gate. The Murloc curve's so powerful. PF often is going to be looking to try and swing back the board with a Volcano in the mid game.
He actually plays 1 Lightning Storm as well.
Sure. Yeah, that's a great tool.
So in this example, like Zalae had additional motivation to just play around the Lightning Storm, so it was crucial to have that totem being getting killed. In this situation, on curve Wall Eater, I don't think there's any better play than this one. True Silver Champion would be still fine, but you don't develop your board, you're getting more damage, more mileage out of those Murlocs, and you set up an incredible Megazord. Even if you don't have it, it pushes your opponent into a very uncomfortable position when he is kind of pushed to just deal with as many Murlocs this turn as possible.
Right. We're probably going to see the Lightning Bolt come out here from PF. He fears the minions on board, needs to start slowing this down.
And it's one of those key tech cards that PF did include in his Shaman list because of the fact that he wanted to increase the odds against aggro decks. In this case, Lightning Bolt comes in handy in a really big way. Killing the Wall Eater was, well, one of the most important turns here.
Right, you can't let that minion stick around. So including extra ways in your deck to deal with 3/3 minions is really important in the current metagame. You look at decks like Aggro Druid with Vicious Fledgling, you need a way to kill that. You look at all the Murloc decks with the War Leaders, you need ways to kill those. You look at even the Bloodlust Shaman decks with all the Manatides, you need ways to kill those. So the stat line of 3 health minions makes Lightning Bolt a great tech choice for the current metagame.
And then we speak, you know, about PF. Actually has this Lightning Bolt in his Shaman and doesn't have a Fear War Axe in his Warrior.
Right, yeah. It's an interesting one.
But yeah, but the
he has a 100% win rate in the Taunt Warrior Mirror.
Yes, and that's what's enough, right?
That's what's brought him to this point in the tournament. It's been
exactly.
really carrying him. It's cool to see unique tech choices like that really paying off. Getaway Kodo could be played here. It's not the highest value Getaway Kodo, but one of the things it potentially does is give you a play for the following turn. If Maelstrom Portal comes out, the Rock Pool Hunter dies, and the Silverhand Recruit dies, but the Rock Pool was on the board first, so that will be the minion returned to Zalae's hand, not the Silverhand Recruit.
Unless an Air Power Totem will be rolled from the Hero Power, then the Hydrologist comes into the hand first.
Right.
Which
So,
ironically, that will be actually worse for PF.
a little bit, yeah. Well, I mean, he gets to kill the Hydrologist, so it's a little better in that sense, but yeah, that's why Zalae has no fear making this Silverhand Recruit here, because the most expected way that his board gets cleaned up would be a Maelstrom Portal.
First Jade Golem on turn 5 is not ideal, and the Megazord is being pulled by Zalae. So the way those Paladin decks are usually being played out is that later in the later stages of the game, you don't have that many Murlocs that you can just combo with the Megazord. So when you have some value, you can actually just go for it right away, especially when some of the adapts will be like Living Spores. So you will still have option to retain your board control even if you trade. So this is a great tempo play. Now we unfortunately don't see the options. Divine Shield, still a good thing to do. One Murloc survives with a Divine Shield, and that makes actually super awkward for PF to actually deal with it. Without a Volcano, doesn't have a good way.
No, he's just going to be developing Mana Tides in here, trying to draw the Gentle Megasaur. So powerful. Even when it comes down on a few amount of Murlocs, the thing about it is it's still 4 mana 5/4, which is a great stat line. Now, Zalae has to be a little afraid of Devolve with this Spike Ridge Steed.
Yeah.
That can just completely remove the 6 mana buff he's playing and get no value out of it. So I imagine we're going to see him hold that back, wait until he can kind of bait out removal to be able to use that. He also has to have Volcano in the back of his mind.
Yeah, well, that Volcano was not in those 4 cards that were kept by PF already. So he knows that, right? If
well, it's hard to get a read because the play from PF here, healing himself for 6 this turn, or even more than that on board because the Megasaur has to trade, isn't so bad. Like, he's not taking a lot of damage. He could just be stalling, trying to get more value out of the Volcano he already has. It's not unreasonable, I would say.
I think so, because if he puts 6 HP on his own board, and Zalae would just put another minion on his own side and just go face.
Oh,
then
ignore it?
Yeah,
Ignore both Mana Tides, though? We saw that earlier on in a different matchup, but with a mid-rangey Paladin deck, I don't know if you can afford to just not kill the Mana Tides like that, but that's an interesting thing. I don't even know if Zalae thought about that.
Well, if you just left them alive, then the only problematic card for you would be Lightning Storm.
Right.
That's only a one-off in PF's deck.
Yeah, that's interesting. He had an opportunity to do that there, just go face with everything, but he decided to just kill the Mana Tides, take a really slow turn with just hero power, not overextend into any AoE.
I mean, I can understand, you know, why did he do that? Because it's, first of all, it's a very natural way of playing the game, right?
Yep.
You want to kill the Mana Tide Totems, which are like an objective on the board. You know they're getting incredible value for the Shaman if they're being kept alive. Especially just, you know, the second draw makes it as powerful as Arcane Intellect when it comes to the value, but at the same time, they still represent minions on the board that need to be dealt with, so they are actually like a healed addition in addition to that, so they are actually counting like a, let's say, heal from Paladin for 2 mana, 6 health, Holy Light.
Okay.
Kind of like that in this
Yeah,
situation.
the Mana Tide kind of acted like a Holy Light there. The Vine Cleaver coming up for Zalae. There is a Harrison Jones in PF's deck, so that is a kind of a risky thing to do here. Being so far ahead, taking that risk, but it is going to be rewarded for it, as there is no Harrison Jones in the hand for PF. So this sets up the Sunkeeper Tarim just beautifully.
It was risky, especially when the other play was just Curator on curve, which is also fantastic because you get to draw your Murloc, which can be a Finja. That is fantastic after you have seen one Volcano being played already. So interesting choices of, you know, risk and reward from Zalae.
One of the things he can do here, if he does play the Tarim, like hero power, swing the weapon at the spell power totem, play the Tarim, trade off the 3/3s, that's going to be a board that PF's going to want to either Volcano or Devolve, because the Devolve will remove the Tarim buff, turning them all into Wisps. If there's no Maelstrom portal to pair with the Devolve, he could land a Spike Ridge Steed on a Wisp, making it immune to Devolve in the future.
I like it. I mean, it was set up in the previous turn. That was the reason why he played the weapon over the Curator. So definitely has to follow up on that initial idea. Alright, well now, as you said, Devolve has to be played, otherwise this game is just spiraling out of control. Huh. Okay. Well, the Malhazar is not really that impactful, but still has huge stats.
Sure, the 5/5 body is not too bad here. Able to help contest some things. The Wisps do get cleaned up, so there's not going to be a target that's super convenient for that Spike Ridge Steed. You have seen one Devolve used already, though, so that makes it a little bit more flexible. No hexes have been played yet, so the Tyrion's kind of scary.
That's true. But it seems like after you have seen a Devolve, one Devolve. Well, okay. Well, we have to talk about the fact that when something is hexed, it's immune to Devolves from that point.
Right.
So the Spike Ridge Steed can be played after the hex, because that's the motivation for keeping it in the hand. But it's also really looking great this turn, because it allows you to kill the Cleaver, kills the Shield Bearer, then you play the Spike Ridge Steed and trade with the Water Speaker, and that's amazing, because you know you're playing against a deck that thrives on synergy with Spirit Echo.
So just removing all of the minions is always really powerful, especially when PF's becoming kind of desperate for cards here. His hand size is extremely small at the moment. But yeah, just talking about hand sizes in general, like both players relatively high life total. They're kind of going even for the board. Now count the cards in Zalae's hand, count the cards in PF's hand. There's a big difference there. One of these players has a lot more resources than the other, so PF is just going to very quickly run out of ways to react to Zalae's board development because he just has so many options to develop with, just so much fuel for days, and that's kind of the design of this Paladin deck and why we've been saying, you know, all weekend, Zalae's lineup's super favored against the control decks, and this is why. You can present endless threats with this deck.
And Onyxia.
And Onyxia. Yeah, he's got a board fill after a board fill after a board fill. He's got weapons for days. He's got buffs, debuffs, the whole shebang. He's got a Black Knight to get through this thing from below. He's just got all the tools necessary to take care of business here.
And even, like, in theory, small impactful cards like Inquisitor are a huge boost as well, because after your opponent uses his board clears, a simple Inquisitor gives you actually 3 minions on the board in a single turn. Because it refreshes the hero power.
Yeah, it can help you continue to flood. One of the things he needs to be wary of is the second Volcano, so he should try and set up more than 15 health on his side of the board if possible.
That's easily doable, right?
Right. Should
he has
be.
11 already in Curator and the Malhazar. 5 from the Black Knight, which seems like the best possible turn to play. I mean, apart from the fact that it kills a 1-mana minion, but it's still a huge push.
Yeah. So yeah, the Volcano is fairly neutralized here. It's not going to be getting a lot of work done on this board if it were to come out. Harrison Jones is out of the way. That means the Tyrion's Ashbringer could potentially be a factor in this game if it is not answered by Hex.
So unfortunately, we don't see what was drawn from Harrison Jones. I assume it's not Lightning Storm, because that would be probably played already with the hero power.
Yeah, maybe a devolve Lightning Storm. You need something like that. This board needs to get cleared, but the big problem is, as soon as he clears this board, it comes right back.
Not looking great for PF, that's definitely true. Like, he's running out of options at all. No, Zalae, don't concede.
Don't concede.
You're ahead. There has to be some manipulation. From the production here. They're pushing like the button on, you know, it's a team viewer and they control Zalae's mouse.
Make him concede. That's probably the only way he loses from this position, honestly.
Oh, there is a lightning
There was
storm.
a lightning storm. He did try and roll the spell power totem, whiffed on the spell power totem.
Well, okay. Then I don't really understand the evolve. Well, let's think about it. Black Knight is undercosted. Malhazar is okay when it comes to his stats. Curator is undercosted as well.
Sure.
So that means that the evolve is actually not that beneficial.
And if you play the totem, you can squeeze out the thing from below, because it costed 1 mana.
Yeah.
So using the hero power reduces it down to 0. So that's why PF chose to go for Totem Storm rather than Devolve Storm there. But he's beginning to piece together the first clear. He's going to need 2 more clears after that, though.
Man, that is looking so rough.
Now, Zalae's in such a winning position, he needs to just make sure he doesn't open himself up into any potential huge swings that could throw him out of the game. So he needs to be worried about Volcano. He needs to be worried about what Hex can do. Those sort of things that could just turn the game on its head out of nowhere.
Okay, but even the one Volcano doesn't really change the fact that he has almost infinite gas in his hand.
Right, but you don't want to give him any chance. You got to win the most you possibly can. Otherwise, if you give him the opportunity to get lucky, sometimes they get lucky. So take that away from him. That's why he's pacing himself. He's not overextending onto the board. Taking this nice and slow, kind of just choking PF out of the game.
And a getaway Kodo as well. So this will soak a little bit of the damage, but unfortunately, it's turn 10, and the Golem is at 2/2 stats.
Not a great Golem. 15, 17 damage for Zalae here.
It's so sad to see, like, Paladin in its inability to end games quickly.
Yeah.
Like, you have a full board and you can't push for lethal.
Needed Consecrate there to really be able to shut this down because the taunt's in the way, but he can still just continue taking value trades, milk the value out of his minions, extend his hand out nice and slow. Don't play into anything too aggressively. He also has the ability, Megastore could hit lethal.
Wind Fury for Stegosaur.
Wind Fury gets lethal here, yeah.
Should be. Wait, 4, 9, 10, 11, and 4, 15.
Yeah, you get the Stegodon on there.
That's not enough.
What? No, it's enough.
Wait, it's... Oh, it's 8. Never
Yeah,
mind.
it's 8, because the Stegodon gets to come down, increasing the power of the Wind Fury minion. Double dipping that beautiful Stegodon damage.
Well, that was actually faster than I anticipated.
Yeah, well, that is, I would say, Zalae's most favored deck in the lineup. The Paladin just has really strong matchups across the board. It's so hard to deal with the amount of just mid-range pressure that this deck can produce. If you look at Hearthstone and the way matchups typically go, there are control decks, which oftentimes beat aggro decks. There's aggro decks, which oftentimes beat mid-range decks. And then there's mid-range decks, which beat control decks.
And then somewhere lurking behind everyone, there's a combo deck.
And then there's quest decks also, which are kind of weird too, which are like combo decks. But yeah, they're just kind of... those ones don't really fit the standard theme of everything else. They kind of go off the walls a little bit with it, but yeah.
But historically speaking, like in other card games as well, the combo decks have really well are really well positioned against control decks. But at the same time, they can just win against everything and lose against everything.
Yeah, if you hit your combo or if you don't hit your combo,
yep.
You know, they either work or fall apart. So we are going to see the Jade Druid from PF coming up against the Mage from Zalae. This is a matchup in Zalae's last round he was able to win, but typically speaking, it is favored for the Jade Druid. And PF has a fantastic hand right here. He has the Innervate, which you really want, and the Jade Blossom for that early mana ramp and early Jade ramp. Now Zalae needs to be trying to find a Mana Worm or Arcanologist, just get on the board as quickly as possible.
Yeah, that's not it.
Those are not it.
Just to back a little bit to the previous match, you were speaking about the fact how the matchup usually works, right? But the Paladin deck, if it doesn't hit the early curve, it can really slow down so much, it has a really tough time to get back on the board.
Right, it needs to be ahead on board. All of the cards in Zalae's like kind of greedy mid-rangey decks.
And are synergetic with each other, but they require board control from the beginning. Yeah. If you just don't hit any synergy with the Warlocks in the beginning, like 1, 2, 3, like we had in this match, you can imagine the matchup going totally different.
Sure. No Mana Worm, no Arcanologist, so Zalae is not going to have a lot of early game pressure, which means it's going to be difficult for him to burn without Alex. So fortunate for him, he does have the Alex, though, so that's kind of the plan you start setting up once you don't get that early game chip damage in. Set up a situation where you can land the Alex on 9, try and burn him out after that.
My own personal experience in this matchup, especially in the beginning of those new version of the Tempo Mages, was the fact that you need early game pressure to get the small amount of damage that will be played, and then the burn will be played before Airframe Scales will make an impactful influence on the game. So before the golems will be 5 attack, 6 attack, because then it just goes out of control, and suddenly the Druid has more armor than Control Warriors in their best time.
Yeah, if you are unable to pressure the Druid and they're able to cycle through their entire deck, which they can get to that point, then they start creating 10-10 Jades, 12-12 Jades, you know, and landing Earthen Scales on them, getting too much armor for you to ever burn out.
Well, for PF, it looks everything is on track. He goes by the curve, I mean, not by the curve, by his unnatural curve. With the Innervated Giant Blossom on turn 1 was actually an amazing boost to the Golem's appearance, because it's turn 4 and the Golem's already 3/3. It's amazing to see.
That is a high power Jade Druid opening. Zalae is very far behind on the board. He's far behind in mana. It's going to be tricky for him to claw his way back into this. His early game minions now at this point are not doing anything. Like Mana Worm can't connect. A 1/3 is very useless at this point. He's going for the Glyph to try and find something that can actually have a high impact in the game.
The problem with Mirror Entity, usually Mirror Entity is amazing against Druids, but since the inclusion of Jade Golems, the Mirror Entity lost its value because most of the creatures are Battlecry, and that means you're not getting the initial minion high, the initial minion is not high statted. So it's the Mirror Entity got just a nerf in this particular matchup, so this is why you can see that Mana Bind is pinged over anything else to get additional removal from the Druid deck.
Yeah, Zalae's kind of saying with that pick that he wants to be reactive. Usually Counterspell is the card that Mage includes in their deck and takes in those situations because the Mage is ahead on board, then Counterspell protects your own board. But he's looking to try and find ways to answer PF's board. So taking some maybe removal from PF to be able to help him get that job done. He's looking at trying to extend this game into late game and be the control deck against Jade Druid, which is a bit tricky to do.
Yeah.
It's not the easiest deck in the world to play defense against. Infinite Jade Golems are typically a problem.
The Jade Spirit from the top was an amazing draw.
Yeah.
So like, I would have think about maybe dropping just the Auctioneer to make it awkward for the Mage to deal with it, because we have seen that he struggles to do with anything.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're running out of cards, you can't really do that. But giving the space for the Mage to catch that breath is something that might actually lose you the match, because you need to keep that pressure on as the Jade player. But here, the Jade Spirit just resolves the problem by its own. They just drop minion, it's a 2/3 and a 7. I mean, basically, it's like almost a 7/7 for 4 mana. So,
I'd like to see Zalae maybe try and set up a Meteor here. Try and go with Mana Worm, Frostbolt the 3/3, and Frostbolt the 3/6, so the Mana Worm kind of contests the 2/3 on board. Set up for Meteor the next turn. He's going to get this Mana Bind out there and also set up for Meteor this way by pinging the 4/3.
we have to say that PF was actually positioning the minions really well against Meteor. Feral Rage, one of the cards that mages hate to see when they are aggressive. But now, with the Mana Bind, PF needs to be aware what kind of secret it will be. Is it a counter spell? Is it a Spellbender? He plays for counter spell because he wanted to actually target his own minion. Or Spellbender. Those are the initial thoughts for him. Wow.
Double Feral Rage. He's got a lot of burst damage in his
Actually,
hand.
yeah, now this is
9 damage out of hand.
More of a double fireball hand.
Yeah. Zalae's only at 11 life. He could just die randomly out of nowhere. He most likely wants to hold on to this Wrath so he can combo with Antonidas later on in the game.
Oh, that's too late.
But
He needs to use it right now with the Meteor.
Right. He needs to start trying to get a read on what's going on. Why is PF not committing additional minions here? And if he can figure out that maybe it's because PF has a bunch of burn spells in his hand, then he can navigate this turn correctly. But it's a difficult read to make at this point.
Well, he needs to go into the defensive line. Ideally, he would like to also develop the Mana Venom this turn. If he would like to develop the Mana Venom, then he needs to go for the Wrath and the Frostbolt. And, well, maybe not Frostbolt, actually. Maybe just Fireball. Mana Venom, Fireball, the Behemoth, then use the Wrath. But that still leaves the Jade Spirit behind, and that damage will still go through. And when you're at 11, you're not really feeling comfortable at all, even against a Druid.
Right, especially since they're not playing any cards. The amount of cards PF has been holding on to has made Zalae a little bit scared, and that's why he does end up clearing there. And it keeps him alive. If he doesn't kill the entire board there, he does have to use his Wrath that costs 0 mana that he would have preferred to save for Archmage.
And this is the first turn when Zalae can actually feel like he's catching up.
Yeah, he can get on the board now.
Double Mana Venom into a Polymorph allows him to be ahead with the board control, and at the same time set up minions that are actually powerful enough on their own to make PF uncomfortable in this situation, unless he has a different game plan. Now, of course, we see that he has a different game plan, so he might just go for additional damage to the face with that minion. What is that?
It looked like a Nourish, yeah.
Okay.
Much needed for PF right now. His hand is kind of slow. Doesn't have a lot going on with it, so gets to pick up some additional cards. Finds the Jade Spirit to fill out his hand.
Here we go, the sheep that could.
If the sheep lives, Zalae's gonna die.
Death by Snoo. No, a sheep.
He can keep both Mana Worms alive, utilize the Fireball and the Frostbolt here, and the ping. Clear off all the minions for PF, pushing 8 damage with Mana Worms. Alternatively, there's like a Flame Strike, but it just seems so clean. This way, you don't have to sacrifice one of your minions into the 5/5.
I like this play a lot. One of lethal for PF.
Yeah, he's so close with these Feral Rages.
And he can't really commit to those. Because of the fact that turn 9 might be an Alexstrasza. So
Right.
if he uses Feral Rages just to push for the 9 damage, that will mean that he might just lose the damage and the armor in the process, and he will lose the late game.
Even Hero Powers a Mana Worm here instead of Hero Powering Face to try and set up for a lethal. Protects Primordial Drake, obviously.
You can also see the Hungry Crab being a tech choice for PF in this deck. Actually double. No, one.
One Hungry Crab,
One Hungry
yeah.
Crab and the Ooze. The Ooze actually is now, I think, more viable against mages than warriors nowadays meta game. It's more impactful, right?
Right, yeah, because you got to remove the Medivh. Removing the Medivh weapon, the Atiash, is a way bigger deal than, for example, removing a Fiery War Axe. So the crazy thing about the current metagame, weapon removals, probably strongest matchup is against Mage.
And maybe Paladin.
Maybe Paladin, sure, yeah. Not a lot of Pirate Warriors running around in this tournament.
There was one played by Snowkiss, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
That's it. One Pirate Warrior in the entire tournament.
Zalae is facing a difficult...
He's going to be Alex rousing himself defensively here. Feels the pressure. He knows there's potentially 9 bursts from PF's hand, and he wants to try and play around it to the best of his ability. Setting up an 8/8 is oftentimes difficult for Druid to deal with.
So now PF has information that basically the only heal that can happen would be a glyph into an ice barrier, into anything else? Basically that.
Basically that, yeah.
So now he can go wide with the board and not really care about the Alexstrasza. Because even if... He saw 2 Frostbolts, right? One Frostbolt
He
was
saw
played.
both Frostbolts, yeah.
That means that a card that has to be used for that taunt minion would be Fireline's Portal or another Fireball.
Okay.
That leaves Zalae with only 6 or 3 mana in the next turn. During the next turn, that means he can't really push for the lethal damage. The only card that really will change this situation would be a Ice Barrier. Ice Block.
Ice Block would be fantastic here for him. If he did pick up Ice Block here, he could Flame Strike, push for 8, set up the Ice Block, but then PF has the Feral Rages to fall back on when he pops Zalae. So he's going to need to... He wants to play. He knows there's 9 damage in the hand for PF. He's been playing around that aggressively the entire game. He has a read on that. Now, knowing that there's 9 damage coming in, you have to clear the board fully.
So you have to commit to the Flame Strike and trade with the Alexstrasza.
And trade with the Alexstrasza,
That
yeah.
is so painful. You have seen only one ref.
What can you get off Firelands Portal? Is there anything that you can get off Firelands Portal?
Doomguard.
Doomguard would have been sweet.
Leroy Jenkins.
Yeah, it might have been a situation where you gotta try and high roll with the Firelands Portal. Like if you hit the Doomguard there and you can full clear with that, then you have some board presence still. But yeah, he's going to fall to the double Feral Rage swipe. PF finally collected enough damage to get the burst. Druid with burst, not something you see a lot anymore.
Oh, come on.
It used to be all the time with Force Roar, but now it's pretty crazy when it happens, being able to kill him out of hand. But that's the expected result of that matchup. The Mage only really wins if it's able to get off a really fast start with Mana Worms, and Zalae didn't have the draw that could let him do that. So the series is going to be tied up 1-1. Not really too big of a deal there to see the Jade Druid go through. It's an easy deck to win with against these control matchups.
Well, I don't think that the major factor is the fact that he didn't have the mana of him. I think the other big factor is that he just missed all the early game creatures.
Right, all of it. He didn't even have
Arcanologist,
Arcanologist, Acolyte of Pain,
Medivh's, right?
Medivh's Valet wasn't there. Yeah, nothing.
So he was just sitting there like, you know, sitting duck, basically.
Yeah.
Which is funny because Zalae loves ducks, right?
He does, yeah. His whole stream is centered around ducks. He has little bath toy ducks that he puts in the background of his stream. And they quack as well into the microphone when people subscribe and stuff. So he's a man of ducks. He loves his ducks. I think it's a Midwest thing. There's a lot of ducks in the Midwest. He grew up in Cleveland. I don't know. Is there ducks in Poland?
Well, we do have ducks. But
Like
yeah,
a lot of ducks?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay.
I guess, but I can't really remember anyone using them as an icon or something.
Right. Well, you didn't have a bath toy duck growing up?
No, I actually didn't.
You didn't have a bath toy duck?
No.
I'll get you a bath toy duck next time I see you. Everybody needs a bath toy duck.
Thank you very much. I'm gonna bring it to every single shower from now on.
There you go. Well, it's a bath, not shower thing. It's a little weird in the shower. It doesn't float in a shower.
Well, you can just you just keep
hold it in your hand
and
what just bask it in the glory of the shower.
Yeah, like
You're taking the deck to a different level. That's too far. It's getting weird.
like it wasn't weird before.
No, this bath duck is normal. Shower duck is strange. That's the line. Anyway, we're getting into the next match. PF on his Control Paladin. This is going to be one of the harder decks in the lineup for him to win with, as it is one of the least aggressive decks, up against the Jade Shaman from Zalae, which, of all the matchups that the Shaman wants to see, this is one of the preferable ones because it has a lot of great answers against Paladin. It has Hex, it has Devolve, and the Paladin is just really slow. We saw earlier a lot of times Taunt Warriors escaping against Zalae's anti-Taunt Warrior lineup through the Shaman because they were able to just be aggressive enough. Against Paladin, you don't really have that concern because they are so incredibly slow. Oh, the volcano actually does go off. I didn't know that happened. I thought that was a meme. Like Twitch chat always tells me, you push the little rock and the drum and the big leaf, and I've never seen it explode.
Cheat codes.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I was just in awe about that. I've never actually seen that happen. I've been playing Hearthstone forever, man. I have never seen the volcano erupt.
When did you actually start playing Hearthstone?
2014.
2014. Okay.
Yeah. So 3 years ago. Obviously, there was no volcano in the game back then, but
But after the official release or before? Still in beta?
after the official release. Okay. Yeah, I didn't get into the beta. I wasn't a famous card game player like you, so.
Wait. I got a key from my friend.
Okay.
Who was like, dude, I know you're good at card games, so here you go. I didn't even knew that Hearthstone existed.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Victor, by the way. You helped me out.
Oh, yeah, it seems like a good friend. So if Zalae coins out the Manatide Totem, he is vulnerable to the True Silver. So oftentimes you want to set up taunts first before playing the Manatide Totem out
Is
there.
even PF playing two True Silver champions?
Yeah, I think PF is playing the True Silver champions. A lot of people switch to the Rallying Blades, but I believe PF has stayed true to True Silver.
Nicely said. We were also talking about the fact that this Paladin will have a hard time winning.
Right, it has a hard time closing games out. It has no burst damage besides the True Silver and a Consecrate, maybe. And at the top end, it only has Tyrion and Light Lord and the Primordial Drake. So
Yeah, that was my point. This deck kind of lacks the punch.
right,
It just, plays 2 Primordial Drakes and expects them to win the game.
yeah, it expects people's decks to kind of run out of steam, which is great against aggro Druid, for example. They run out of cards after you Primordial Drake them, stuff like that. But against any sort of Jade deck, like this Jade Shaman, you don't really run out of steam ever.
Yeah, especially with the Spirit Echoes on, just Aya. As we can see, it's already there in the hand, waiting.
Yeah. That's a sick combo. I imagine Zalae's going to want to try and make sure that that happens.
Yeah, so turn 8, Aya into Spirit Echo. You don't even need to have anything else on the board.
Yeah, it's
Just changing
so
the
good.
Spirit Echo into another Aya is worth it on its own.
Manatide coming out here. If the weapon comes out for PF, so if he has the True Silver Champion and utilizes it to destroy the Manatide, then Zalae has the Harrison Jones to respond. The weakness in this line of play, though, is Stampeding Kodo. Just farms his Manatide in this situation. So he's thinking about coining out a totem to try and help him play around that.
Interesting.
So now it's a 50-50 for the Kodo to clear the Manatide.
Even maybe, well, if it would have been a
Taunt Totem?
Taunt Totem, then it's even less.
Right.
Because the 1/1 doesn't die to the attack from the Sunhill Defender.
And this is big.
Yep. Let's see. Oh, it nails the right totem. Actually, the left totem, but it was the correct one.
Right. That's very fortunate for PF, able to shut down that draw, stop Zalae from getting additional resources. And this Harrison, no True Silver to farm. He was hoping he would be baiting out a True Silver there, but it was not the case.
Okay, so still the plan is to Spirit Echo Aya, most likely.
Most likely. And you want to make enough totems so that
Exactly.
the thing from below can be included with it as well.
So you have 4 turns of using 3 hero powers to get to that point.
Yes.
That's
Seems
that's
like
the
a good
plan.
time to squeeze one out right now.
I like it as well. Oh, he goes
Oh,
for
he's-
it instantly. Oh.
Well,
Well, it is a good setup stat-wise against the board,
right.
right?
It's stat-wise good against the board. He still doesn't mind a True Silver coming out because he still has the Harrison Jones in his hand, and this makes PF really want a True Silver.
Well, might actually happen.
I imagine it will happen. Otherwise, there's no way he's killing this thing from below. So True Silver swings in. You probably play the Hydrologist first, kind of discover the secret. Just good sequencing.
By the way, Hydrologist is the Gus. Is the Gus for the deck.
The guess,
Yeah, the Gus for the deck, because it gets you the Getaway Kodo for those Tyrions and Terrans and Light Lords, basically.
Oftentimes, though, the Getaway Kodo is going to be getting a frog.
Yeah, might be the case, yes.
Yeah, it is.
But then we discussed it yesterday or 2 days ago, that it's not that bad when you think about
sure,
it, right?
Because then you can play the Frog Spike Ridge Steed combo to play around Devolve, which isn't too bad. But I imagine we'll see the Harrison Jones come out here from Zalae, and you probably still kill the Hydrologist. You expect there to be Getaway Kodo up, but you don't mind the Hydrologist going back to end. It's not that high of value, and it makes it so your Harrison Jones doesn't die on board and contest the Kodo quite nicely.
And it also makes PF kind of uncomfortable with the next turn, because he would have to replay the Hydrologist to get it back on the board, which is 2 mana. It's not that easy to squeeze the 2 mana in a deck like a Paladin,
Yeah.
which has the higher curve, wants to play on the curve actually with the minions. It's turn 7 ideally would be Curator in this case, so you can't really follow it up with a good mana curve.
He is going to hold back.
Interesting.
He's waiting on that Hex to activate the Getaway Kodo. He doesn't mind if his Harrison Jones just gets killed here, which is reasonable. We're going to probably see the Aldor come down to allow better trades. Oh, even he's going Sunkeeper Tarim and pushing face maybe? Or is he going to clear the Harrison? Clears the Harrison, okay. Trying to get Sunkeeper Tarim Getaway Kodoed. Definitely a very strong minion to get Getaway Kodoed.
But it's also as strong against Shamans, that's the problem.
Well,
right?
it's strong in the very late stages of the game. This isn't a board flood Shaman. Like, it has some kind of floody aspects to it. You hate using Sunkeeper Tarim on totems, but against giant Jade minions, Sunkeeper Tarim answers those. And this isn't Jade Druid. It doesn't have infinite amount of threats. There are actually a limited amount of threats. It is possible for PF to completely exhaust all of Zalae's threats. And one of the ways he can do that is lining up equalities on really big boards, lining up Sunkeeper Tarims, because he has multiples of them right now, on the big Jade minions. So if he gets it Getaway Kodoed and can have it again in the future, then he'd have 2 equalities, 2 Sunkeeper Tarims, and an Aldor left. So he could really actually begin to defuse every Jade minion Zalae plays.
And I believe Zalae exactly knows what is the game plan for PF. He wants to play around it. So the Hex might be itching to be played right now.
Going into your opponent's turn 8, though, if you use Hex going into their opponent's turn 8, you free them up to be able to play Tyrion. You free them up to be able to play Rag Lightlord, so that's really scary.
Aya on 7. No Jade Spirit, Spirit Echo land at all. What do you think about that?
He has other Jade cards he can combo the Spirit Echo with, so it's not all that bad. He just feels like he's falling too far behind on board, and one of the reasons why is probably because he didn't have any board clears in his hand at the time, so if he doesn't draw one pretty soon, and he just kind of passes, then PF's going to be able to snowball the board very aggressively and could threaten to put in through a lot of damage. So now that he has the board clear, he can afford to play a little slower, but yeah, I think it was just the pressure of the board with no AoE in hand.
Well, now he's facing the same situation and probably has to play the Volcano in this.
Well, he can
Light
wait a little
events.
bit on the Volcano. It's 10 power.
He was looking at that Maelstrom Portal synergy here.
The Maelstrom Portal is great because
It kills the Hydrologist.
it kills the
right?
Hydrologist, right? So you get to play around the Getaway Kodo, kind of. Because the Getaway Kodo might come back, but you play around it for the time being. You could also think about the Hex still. He's thinking about the Hex on the Curator, but it's so dangerous. It really opens up Tyrion to wreak havoc on you. With Zalae has also already played as Harrison Jones, so he's really committed to hexing that Tyrion. I like the Jade Lightning over the Jade Spirit here. You want to save that Jade Spirit to combo with the Spirit Echo.
I was still thinking about the whether we want to ideally play the Devolve. Ideally, of course, after the Spike Steed.
Right.
But at the same time, PF is gonna think about the timing of his own Spike Steed. So it is like a back and forth between players to know exactly when to play those cards. And at some point of the game, they will be just pushed to play those cards to either respond to a threat or put a threat on the board, right? So it's an interesting synergy between the players when they know exactly what to expect from the other player. And in this tournament, we have players with the full knowledge of the opponent's deck lists.
Yeah, so they know exactly how many threats they need to save answers for. They know exactly how they can ideally line their cards up against their opponent. And Zalae knows, ideally, he does not want to hex this Ragnaros Lightlord. He wants to be able to hex Tyrion. So this is kind of a bait here from PF. As he picks up that Tyrion, he's like, all right, now, doesn't die on board. He just used one of his Jade Lightnings. If he doesn't have a second Jade Lightning, then he may be forced to hex my minion. And that would work fantastically for PF.
And Zalae has an incredible turn 10. Jade Spirit into Stonehill Defender would be amazing. He goes for the Stonehill Defender this turn, though. That means he does want to respond.
That is a good Stonehill Defender minion for that Spirit Echo.
Then never mind.
The Hex is going to be used here. He feels like he needs to do it. PF's Tyrion is going to be able to come down semi-unchecked. It still gets kind of checked by the Devolve, but...
It's not that big of a deal, right? It becomes a 7-mana minion, and 7-mana minions are not that great in Hearthstone when it comes to their stats, their possibility, like, you know, Ancient of War, 5/5 minion, right? Not the best. There are a lot of other ones that you can just get.
Interesting. He's not even going for the Tyrion yet. He's going for the Primordial Drake. It does clean up a lot of the pressure on board, and it's another big minion that Zalae kind of has to deal with. He's maybe thinking of, I guess, checking for a second Hex at this point, or checking for just maybe if he can pressure out the Devolve with Spike Ridge Steed first and then kind of guarantee the Tyrion. He's just kind of holding Tyrion as the last threat, I guess. Because that was an opportunity. He could have just jammed Tyrion there and hoped there was, you know, not a second Hex or worst case Devolve, you know.
But now Zalae is gonna push the button.
Oh yeah, this is huge.
This is like such a swing when it comes to the card advantage. And now he has also have to think about how many cards does he actually want to have with the Death Rattler effect. So right now, he will end up with 5 cards in his hand, 5 Death Rattler effects on the minions. Stonehill Defender also generates a card. So basically, maybe there's a small reasoning to play the Hot Spring Garden after the Spirit Echo. But
or just trade in the 4/2 first so you don't have to try and overdraw it. But
yeah.
It looks like he's okay with overdrawing a random card from his deck.
So instead of a random card from his deck, you would have rather a 4-mana 4/4.
Right.
In this situation.
He prefers that to a random card in his deck, which, who's to say if that's better or worse?
I mean, in this actual matchup, that matters because Paladin has a way of dealing with an entire board. Right? But at the same time, this board is not that threatening to use equality here.
Right, so if equality does get, like, PF would have to use equality to overdraw him, and it's a pretty crummy equality to do so. So Zalae's not anticipating equality getting used here, cleaning up his entire board, which makes a lot of sense. So he's just taking his extra 4/4 saying, all right, if you want to waste an equality on this board, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, he has such an easy refill. Next turn, double Jade Spirits. You produce a 6/6 and a 7/7, and you still have 2 mana left over for whatever. Basically, you play also a thing from below. Devolve is available for the next turn for the push for damage. It's a really good setup for Zalae to just maybe even just finish the game next turn. There's the equality.
Yeah, it's coming out early this game. This is only a 5/5 Jade. Wow. This is going to overdraw Zalae a card. It has a % chance to hit a Jade card. Its Mana-Tide Totem does not bother him anyway.
He's not in need of cards anymore.
No, he's got all the cards in the world. He has so many, he overdrew the Mana Tide.
Alright. Well, 10 mana to play. And I feel like when you see equality being used in such a way, that means that either PF has another equality combo clear in his hand, so you can space out the threats right now, or you can just risk it and set up the biggest minions right away.
I don't think you want to go all in, but it is scary, right? PF's game plan is to exhaust all of your threats. He wants to kill everything in your deck, even both Spirit Echoes, so he wants to be landing Sunkeeper Terrams, Aldor Peacekeepers, the qualities for sick value to just exhaust you out of the game. So playing too aggressively onto the board goes into that game plan, allows his equalities and Sunkeeper Terrams to get way more value than they should. So the way Zalae wins this most consistently is making sure he spaces out just enough threats to where he can pressure PF to have to use cards inefficiently, but never overextend, and then just slowly trade off with PF card for card until the very end of the game. Because with Spirit Echo, you're playing with more than 30 cards.
Yes.
Zalae's kind of like playing a 35-card deck, and PF's playing a 30-card deck because you add additional cards back to your hand with the Spirit Echo. So that means the longer you can make the game go on, the more the advantage of having more stuff comes into play. So just making sure you don't fall too far behind on tempo, but making sure you're not too far ahead so that you overextend into things is the line that Zalae's trying to walk. And that is a big minion off the devolve.
Still worse than Tyrion.
It's worse than Tyrion, but it trades pretty great on the board here.
Well, no auto response from Zalae to that minion, so you can just push for damage. There's actually still Getaway Kodo on the board right now, so that makes it kind of awkward.
Yeah, you have to ignore the minion because of the Getaway Kodo and just because the trades are awful, but you want to try and set up something that can finish it off the following turn, I imagine.
Death Rattle actually creates Murlocs, right?
3/1/1 Murlocs, yeah.
But this is the deck. PF is actually playing a deck that doesn't have synergy with Murlocs, so it doesn't really matter.
No Murloc synergy, yeah. So let's see, there is 11, 12, 13 damage for Zalae. Sets up lethal with a Jade Lightning. So PF has to respect that. So an Aldor needs to come out, or something needs to happen here to try and limit the amount of damage, which is good. Forcing an Aldor, forcing some sort of minion to have to come out from PF to not die, means that there's going to be something that Zalae can abuse to proc the Getaway Kodo. So PF needs to figure out how can he get the most value out of his Getaway Kodo still in this circumstance. One of the ways he could do it would be maybe a Sunkeeper Terram, but you'd ideally like to be playing Sunkeeper Terram the turn you pop your minion.
True, but he can set up a Wicker Flame to heal more as well.
You could take the big gamble with the Spike Ridge Steed. You've seen it devolve. He's just going to extend fully onto the board as defensive as he possibly can this turn. Not taking any gambles with the Spike Ridge Steed.
But he plays into the...
Yeah, the hero power there plays into the Getaway Kodo removal.
That's kind of weird when you just give your opponent a 1/6 minion that doesn't really have, you know, a lot of interest in killing any creatures.
The 1/6 wants to trade into 1/1s. I don't like that at all. It might be a time where you're supposed to just skip on the hero power. Unless the secret overlay is incorrect, but...
No. It was there still after the Tyrion. It was played directly after Tyrion.
Yeah, that is a huge misplay. He could have gotten either an Aldor or a Kodo back, which are both way better than a Silverhand Recruit. The only time a Silverhand Recruit, I guess, could be better is if you're trying to play it with Terram. So I guess this does allow him to go like Hero Power, Silverhand Recruit, Terram.
And a secret on top of that.
And a secret on top of that. So I think he's anticipating that play. So maybe he intentionally gets the Silverhand Recruit, Getaway Kodo, to set for that up. Because he's going to try and pop the 5/2, play all of those minions, then Sunkeeper Terram having an entire full board of 3/3s.
Still very optimistic.
Yeah, but he's in a desperate situation, so it's a good time to be optimistic. And it's going to happen now. Look at this. The 5/2 and the 3/3 trade in. You can hero power, drop the Silverhand Recruit, Sunkeeper Terram if you wanted. But it's a little awkward because you're buffing your opponent's minions a lot as well.
You're buffing 2 deep. Well, actually buffing just 1, right? Because you attack 5-2 goes into 2-4.
Oh, yeah. 5-2 into
goes-
2-4, 3-3, 0-2. Yeah, that's perfect. Another Sunkeeper Terram to help him remove these big Jade minions. I would love to see him go for this play. He's not going for it.
Okay.
Wow.
I find this very interesting, peculiar to be fair.
Right, with an additional Sunkeeper Terram as well, it's kind of crazy. But
You get so many minions and you actually just destroy a 7/7 taunt.
yeah, and you make yourself way safer. A lot of times he dies to devolve Jade Lightning here.
It's 10, 12, 13 damage on board.
Yeah. Well, after the devolve has been used, Sunkeeper Terram does get better. Your opponent can't devolve off its buffs, so you're kind of baiting the devolve, but I don't think the cost is worth it.
Especially when you have 2 Terrams. Like
Right, he has 2 Terrams.
You can just play the first one, and even if something happens to the effect, you have like, yeah, well, whatever. I have a second Terram. I'm playing super safe anyway.
Yeah, I don't like it. Wow! That is unlucky.
Those are the best 2-drops you can get.
Yeah, the best possible 2-drops you can get, and that's not a bad 6-drop.
Well, it gives your opponent a 3-drop.
Yeah, but it's protected by the Dirty Rats, so the stats are insane.
That's crazy.
That is very unlucky for Zalae there.
But it still leaves a lot of threats on the board. And PF is still in the same position. He needs to do something about those minions. And now, he actually is in a worse position than he was last time. So the Terram is not that beautiful anymore.
Yeah, the Terram can't really do much anymore. He's going to have to try and get bailed out by Ivory Knight at the moment. All the minions are kind of at 3 health for Zalae. The important
so
ones anyway.
Consecration doesn't really help.
Yeah. A Light in the Darkness could get something, I guess. Well, if you kill the 2-2, you're not dead on board. There's only 15 damage for Zalae. But a Light in the Darkness is the most healing. And maybe you get a minion that can save you. You know, you could get a Yogg-Saron.
All right. Well, there's still the another Peacekeeper that could help mitigating some damage. But that's Redemption, right? If I remember correctly.
Redemption. So Wicker Flame Burn Bristle plus the Redemption.
That's 8 damage that can heal if nothing happens to him before the attacks.
Yeah. It's a lot of healing. Buys you a lot of time for sure.
The Redemption, when you think about the best possible targets for Redemption, it's actually Tyrion and Wicker Flame.
Just because the Divine Shield comes back with it, just slows down the board state so much. It takes so many attacks to get through it. It can protect your life total and your other minions.
$22 HP will go to 26. Zalae, we have been talking about how much gas does he have, but he is slowly now kind of running out. He only has 1 Jade Golden Generation card left in his hand. That means he needs to keep it still for the second Jade Spirit Echo.
Ideally, yeah.
But he might actually get another one, like a Chieftain right now from the Stonehill Defender. Let's see what will happen. What is the pick? Unfortunately, we can't really see 3 options. Thanks, Blizzard.
Not a very high value card. That's not very good. It's kind of useful in the current situation to heal your minion outside of Consecrate range. Obviously healing the Chieftain over the Golem to increase Spirit Echo value later on. But not ideal. You want something bigger. Chieftain, thing from below. But
We
no
did see
clear
2
for
devolves, so now the Spikered Steed actually is an amazing card.
Abomination is it's also not too bad here to help try and clean some stuff up.
Wait, Fight Promoter. Everyone should have that card.
Everybody has a fight promoter.
Unless you just, disenchanted it.
I didn't disenchant mine. I kept it. But yeah, at the time, when they did the fight promoter promotion, I had 1 fight promoter.
Really?
Yeah, and for Omnistone, we were doing a promotional thing to talk about the fight promoter thing. So we all played fight promoter decks.
Oh, so you have to kept it.
I didn't have enough dust for it. So I had to disenchant cards mid-show to craft a second fight promoter to play meme fight promoter decks. And now I don't have a complete collection. So
Oh, feels bad, man.
And then I lost anyway. Like, and also the craziest thing about that is Frodan didn't know how Fight Promoter worked in that challenge.
So he didn't play it from his own hand when it was buffed?
He thought, no, he built an entire deck around Fight Promoter, and he thought it was about, you need 5 health on the minion to draw off of it. So all of his minions had 5 health. And he still beat me with his Fight Promoter deck. It just, I have some bad blood with Fight Promoter. But I'm getting off topic. I'm getting way too sidetracked here. It's a fun and interesting card that no one really plays at high level yet, but there's got to be some wacky decks that use it. But the Abomination picked up.
Another card that we didn't see really in competitive gaming.
You see it every once in a while off the Stonehill Defender now, just for its ability off that. But we got this one off Light in the Darkness, so it's a 5/5. But it can oftentimes be a cute little tech card in some awkward scenarios. And it really does shut down a lot of the pressure on Zalae's board. But utilizing this, the healing from the Jinyu, he can preserve some of his board. Now it's only really killing a Taunt Totem, which is fantastic.
And he can still play the second Water Speaker to try to rescue his Chieftain from certain death next turn.
Yeah. Trade in...
Okay.
Okay, he's not going to be playing the Jinyu, I guess.
And we have Mr. Fingal.
He's doing this dance where he's got to play around the equality still, and that's another Jade card being played. Look at all the answers from PF now. He has multiple Terrams. He's got Aldor for the big Jades. If he finds the second equality, he is going to be in such a great spot for answering these Jades when they come out one at a time. And Zalae's hand is beginning to get to that point where they come out one at a time. He's running on fumes here.
He needs a Spirit Echo. Like, the second Spirit Echo will be a godsend right now, especially in a situation where a PF will not clear the board yet. So even by getting a basic golems that cost 5, 6, 7, 8 mana, is not terrible because you just play them as a singular threat, vanilla arena card basically. But they still do their job, which is create board presence and threaten a lot of damage coming to the face.
I think this is a situation you could use one of the Terrams. Trade the 4/1 into the 0/2.
Well, we had situations like that before, and they weren't used. So
he's really trying to get max value out of these Terrams. He's really waiting until the last possible moment to do it because he knows there's a lot of Jade cards left. He's got to answer all of them. And I mean, he hasn't died yet, so it's working. He's been able to preserve his higher priority resources this long. PF's been playing this game quite nicely, getting really close to being able to actually exhaust a Jade deck, which is impressive.
Such a greedy way of playing this deck, right?
It's the only way you can play it, though. He doesn't have enough finishers. Sometimes people get in these matchups against Jade decks, and they're like, well, I don't have enough finishers in my deck, but I'll try and make it work. Let's mulligan for the early game and play as aggressively as possible. Well, PF took this a different direction. He said, you know what, I can play this as passively as possible, and I can outvalue this Jade deck. And it seems like it might actually work, which is crazy.
But one Spirit Echo will turn this around.
Yeah. One Spirit Echo. If the Spirit Echo is drawn before the board clear is drawn, then for sure. But if a board clear comes down, cleaning up a lot of these minions, then I don't even know if the Spirit Echo can be enough. But yeah, that is the key card. If Zalae had Spirit Echo right now, and he could just extend out an additional minion, then drop the Spirit Echo, he would be in business. Like Chieftain Spirit Echo.
He will just probably pass.
Yeah.
Like, the trades are not looking great. He knows that he needs that Spirit Echo.
So he wants his minions sticking around, waiting for that.
I guess. I mean, you get an 8 mana 8/8.
Yeah, that's not bad. Gets the taunt in the way, try and protect, I guess. The 5/5? It doesn't seem to be doing a lot. Does the Doomsayer go off on this board?
Well, you have 15
one Hex, right?
Yes, 2 Devils were played, 1 Hex was played.
Okay.
The Doomsayer's being...
It's protected.
Is actually protected by 15 HP points and then 6 HP points from his own, so that's 21 damage that can be dealt before the Doomsayer dies. And how much damage do we have on board right now? 2,
Nowhere
5,
near enough, yeah.
10, 13, 14! That's...
And the only thing that Zalae could do to increase that damage would be Jade Lightning. So that means he needs to have Hex in his hand to answer this Doomsayer if it comes down. And if If you have Hex, you're probably hexing this 5/9 Spike Ridge Steeded Aldor. So
Probably, yeah.
There's a pretty strong read that there's no Hex here, so this Doomsayer pickup from PF is actually just insane. It's very likely to go off. That's not Hex. It is a 9/9 though.
So
But,
it's a German card.
Yeah, I guess so. But the downside here for Zalae is he's losing all the tempo. He could take the trades to kill off the Stegodon, but PF's going to have the board. He's going to be able to develop, drop his Terram, have a bunch of 3/3s and try and push. He does have to be worried about Zalae's copy of Volcano. He's only used one Volcano thus far this game, so there is another one in his deck that could answer his Terram board. And judging by the way PF has been playing this game, I imagine he's still going to continue with the fatigue strand plan. Just keep exhausting all the Jades. Just He might just hero power Bass after this board gets cleared and not even try and utilize the tempo. Just hold back both Terrams for their purpose of answering the remaining Jade cards.
Yeah, I would actually like that to see maybe even just Harrison Jones being played for a board presence card. Hero power, Harrison Jones. Like there's only one Jade Claw left.
Yeah.
Do you need
what?
it?
Well, is the draw detrimental maybe? What are the card counts at? It's looking really thin.
Like 5 to
5 to
6?
4. Like it's really small right now. So drawing cards off Harrison might actually hurt you as we start approaching this fatigue game. There's 6 cards left for Zalae, 6 cards left for PF.
Yeah,
so
I would like to just play the Harrison Jones without the card draw.
I think that's a very reasonable play. You're afraid of potentially Jade Lightning coming out from Zalae to kill it, but other than that,
which is not bad, because then
It's
you
not
know
that
it doesn't
bad.
go to your face. And that means when you're going close to the fatigue,
Okay.
and you have Terrams that are setting up, you know, a board state when the attacks are not possible to your face, you can actually outgrind the opponent, right? But then one Jade Lightning can swing the fatigue in his favor and be, well, GG.
Volcano picked up for Zalae, which doesn't really get too much happening on right here because PF did hold back the Sunkeeper. He's not trying to do an aggressive push. He's being as reactive as possible.
I mean, we have been talking about those Terrams not being used for a very long time, and it looked like not a really wise decision.
He had so many opportunities where he could have used them earlier, but he's really showing a great knowledge of the matchup, great understanding of what he's trying to do here. He's had this game plan from the very beginning of the game, and he's stuck with it. He's still sticking with it, and it's finally looking like it might just pay out for him.
Zalae needs to commit to the Jade Claws. Fortunate for him, actually, Jade Claws is one of the best draws that he would have did, apart from from Spirit Deck, of course. But it's the best because he doesn't need to play the Chieftain from his hand that is needed for the Spirit Echo. And he still develops a huge threat.
Yeah, 9/9, nothing to scoff at. Might start forcing out the Terrams. You see Terram 1 coming out for PF.
Basically deals 4 damage and decreases the attack. That was the Jade Lightning.
That is ideal. And you see Zalae's holding back the Chieftain and he's holding back the Thing from Below. That's because these line up perfectly for his Spirit Echo. He can play the Chieftain for 7, Thing from Below for 0, and then Spirit Echo for 3, filling out the curve completely.
Unfortunately, he doesn't roll the Air Power Totem to make like the ideal turn.
Yeah, that would have been crazy. It's still good enough. You play it 10-10. It's not bad.
For 4 mana, seems like a good play. Basically what happened is PF is exactly looking at the same board state as the previous turn.
Yeah.
This time he can play the Intrusive Champion instead of the Consecration, set up a little bit of a more tempo swing in the upcoming turn, or he can go for the Hero Power and the Recruit from his hand and for the Tarim, while not killing the Totem from his opponent, which kind of allows his opponent to kill the Tarim in the process, but there are no more getaway Kodos because both Hydrologists have been killed. So maybe developing your minions right now is more beneficial.
Well, he's got to worry a little bit. I think there's one Maelstrom Portal left for Zalae. There's no Volcanoes left, but if a bunch of minions extend without the Terram being played, then the Maelstrom Portal could stop the setup of them. But with the Jade Lightning gone, you're not too afraid of that much burst. Maybe you could try and set a True Silver up here. I don't think you're going to win if you Terram this. You do know there's additional Jade cards remaining. So set up the True Silver, Hero Power, Doomsayer, maybe just to try and gain 10 life. And then this will set up for a better Terram in the future. Because you just can't win. They have more Jades than you have Terrams at this point. All right, I guess at every point. But right now, when we're going down to the wire, it's a bit tricky.
There's the second Hex. Can help with pushing damage this turn. You can just go for hexing the Doomsayer and just smashing your opponent's face for 10.
Zalae's, I think he's keen to the fact that there's a Sunkeeper Terram up there.
Well,
so,
the
I
card
like,
from the Stonehill Defender was
right.
kept there for like 15 turns.
Yeah, exactly. It's been there forever, and it just makes sense with how PF's playing. He can't do this game plan unless he has multiple Sunkeeper Terrams. So it makes sense to expect him to have one.
Well, now it goes down, kills the 10-10 Jade Golem that was...
This is a bit interesting. It plays better around Spirit Echo this way. That's what he's trying to play around. That's why he's leaving up the Spell Power Totem and taking 3 additional damage. So it's not a misplay there. He wants to avoid the Spirit Echo coming down on the 10-10.
But here in this situation, doesn't really do much anyway. Like, the Spirit Echo goes...
Well, he has a quality left. PF has a quality, so he can clear this board with the equality and...
But then what does he do?
Yeah, we're figuring that part out. Yeah, that's the trick. But...
It's not looking great.
It's not looking. He's got 1 equality left. What else does he have? I don't think he's going to have enough. I think Zalae's managed to just barely have enough to close this out. Even against, I think it's 3 Sunkeeper Terrams he had.
Yeah, I feel like that turn, when he could have got the best value out of the Terram.
Here we go, the push. Zalae doesn't have removal left in his... Oh, he has the 1 Maelstrom Portal, I believe.
Yeah.
So the Maelstrom Portal can try and remove this, but also just the fact that the Jade Chieftain gives you a taunt can help shut down the damage coming in. But PF is pushing forward with a lot of power. Well, maybe he doesn't have a Maelstrom Portal left. 1 card remaining for Zalae.
Can't really remember which one was it, but just playing the Chieftain alongside the Stonehill Defender and the thing from below shuts down the Paladin completely.
Yeah. There's no way you can get through all of those taunt minions. And you put so much power in play.
So in retrospect, I feel like the turn when he did get the 3rd Terran and didn't play the Terran at the same time.
What is the minion that spawns the 3 Murlocs
I can't
called?
remember
I have
the name.
no idea what the name of that is. The big
I'll
dragon.
call it Loch Ness Monster.
The Loch Ness Monster, sure. It's something like that. He has this Loch Ness Monster, and he has the ability to trade off 2 of Zalae's minions and put 5 of his own minions in play and play Sunkeeper Terram. That's immune to a Volcano, or not immune, but very strong against a Volcano because of the amount of stats you have in play. And that was a moment, like, I really like his game plan. He stayed true to his game plan, but that might have been a moment where you could really benefit from deviating from it and find yourself in a better position. Because at the end of the day, he did not have enough answers to the Jade minions.
Yeah, a single Spirit Echo gives more threats than triple Terrans can deal with.
So I think it's a valiant effort, and I think it's a very interesting game plan that he came up with based on the fact that he discovered the additional Terrams. But I still don't think you can win the matchup this way consistently. I think the more consistent way to play this matchup is getting a big tempo swing and trying to pressure your opponent down at some point. He just kind of played Zalae's game plan. This is what Zalae wanted. He wanted the game to go to fatigue like this. Because at the end of the day, he's playing with more cards than you because Spirit Echo is more than 1 card.
Zalae actually had 8 cards.
Yeah.
4 on the board, 4 in the hand. Although 2 of them were basically low impact 1 mana cards, like with the Air Power Totem and the Maelstrom Portal minion. But still, the amount of card advantage that he generated in that match, that was his gameplay.
It's tough to outgenerate a Jade deck. It's really tough. Jade Shaman's no Jade Druid, but Spirit Echo is easily adds a couple cards to your hand. It's like playing the game with more cards than your opponent, which is really unfair in a control matchup.
I wonder how many cards did they actually play, because Hydrolysis does the same.
Okay, yeah, but not to the same scale. It allows you to
yeah.
get back. Well, I guess if you can aim it right, if you get another Tyrion, that's fantastic. But the Shaman can like negate that so well with the hexes and the devolves, and it doesn't really work out for you.
It was a really long and grueling match. As you can see in this, I think this is the first tournament for a very long time when players actually need to take a break during the match, right? And we see that often. But I guess that's the nature calls, you know. Like
yeah, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. But Zalae played that Shaman really well. I liked how patient he was, how long he just extended the game. That's the way you got to do it in that matchup in particular. So he was really struggling with that Shaman deck day one.
Yeah.
Day one, it was the deck he had the most losses with. He lost 3 times with that Shaman deck in his first match on day one. So, like, for him to be able to get it through consistently today, today, his first series got it through 1 game. This series gets it through first try. That's a really good sign for him going forward throughout the tournament.
Especially since his lineup, as other players are saying, seems like the best one that was submitted for this entire tournament.
Yeah, so even though he had a shaky day one start, he seems to have gotten a handle on it and playing a little bit better today.
Yeah,
and
definitely. Although, the beginning of the game was... We're questioning some decisions like the Aya on turn 7, right?
Right.
It seems like a very good option just to Spirit Echo it on turn 9 with the thing from below that he opted to play before.
Yeah, he could have maybe played that a little bit slower, right?
But at the same time, it worked out because Zalae was sure that the copies of Jade Spirits or Chieftains is good enough to warrant to have more threats than his opponent will have answers to.
Yeah, it's a little tricky in those matchups a lot of the time when you're supposed to Spirit Echo, when you're supposed to hold things back, when you're supposed to commit. Because if you try and hold for too much value,
you might
sometimes you get run over and die, right?
Exactly.
Like, so you have to go at the right speed to where you have enough value that you don't just get out-grinded and lose the game, but you go fast enough to where you don't just get run over. And now we're going to be seeing PF playing basically the exact same Jade Shaman as Zalae's playing. Only one little card change. He does have a Lightning Bolt instead of the second Jade Chieftain. So 1 less Jade card is pretty big in these control matchups, but he is going up against Zalae's Jade Druid. The way this matchup often pans out is whoever draws more Jade cards wins. Because if in a Jade mirror, if you're ahead on the Jade count, all your minions are value trading. And that's a big deal because then your opponent needs to expend mana to remove them. And then while they're doing that, you play more Jade minions and push further ahead. So this is the nuts from PF. That hand is amazing.
It's amazing, and it's also better for the Shaman to have the upper hand when it comes to the priority on the golems. Because the other way around, Shaman has an easy way of dealing 1 damage with Mars and Portal that fits the mana curve better in most turns because
Swipes
it's just for 2 mana.
A lot of mana.
Exactly. Swipe would have to be combined with an Innervate to make it, like, you know, to make back on the board. And wow, Zalae is looking horrible. Like, this hand is really tough.
He mulliganed away the Jade Idol, which I'm a little curious about.
Isn't that like the best keep for turn 1, like, ever?
I believe so, yeah. It's one of the highest win rate cards to be playing. Like, at any point in the game when you're Jade Druid, when you play this card, it's fairly good for your win rate according to, like, HS replay data and stuff like that.
What does that website say about Innervate, though?
Very good things about Innervate, yes. When Innervate is kept in the hand, it's very powerful. But yeah, one of the cards that, when it's in your opening hand, improves your win rate would be Jade Idol. Maybe it's a matchup-specific thing, but he's being rewarded for it here, being able to pick up the Innervate since he mulliganed more cards. Gets that Harrison out there.
Still kind of awkward. Turn 4 most likely will be Wrath Cycle, Hero Power, just to get something for the next turns.
Look at how many Jade cards. PF is very excited about the amount of Jade cards in his hand. He is smiling.
He's like, I'm on the roll.
Yeah. That's insane.
Wow, okay, that's actually a fantastic draw. There are 2 options here, basically. Wild Growth, of course, has to be played, so you can follow it up with a Behemoth next turn. The Wrath, though, has a consideration. Either you do this cycle, kill the 1/1, and you get ahead on the card draw a little bit. I mean, on the cycle basically. But your Harrison Jones most likely will die next turn to the trade. Or you just use the Wrath for 3 damage, and then the Harrison will most likely live.
Yeah, he's not really too concerned about the Harrison, but he wants to hold on to this Wrath. And the reason why he wants to hold on to this Wrath is because of Holy smokes, another Jade card. But Mana Tides are a big problem for Druid occasionally. Like, if Druid's behind on board and Shaman can hide a Mana Tide behind the taunt, that can often run away with the game. And he has a play for the next turn. He has Nourish for card draw, so he doesn't need the card draw for the Wrath. So the utility of being able to deal 3 damage with it is fantastic. So I like saving onto the Wrath.
And he also utilizes hero power, which is like infinite card advantage, if it actually gives you something.
Another Jade Lightning comes out, and then Aya comes out, and you can't really beat that. Druid does not have the comeback mechanisms necessary to do that.
And turn 7 seems like a Jade Spirit into Spirit Echo.
And look at the value trades coming out. Now you have to kind of swipe to try and play catch-up here. And then if you swipe, PF, you develop nothing, so PF has an empty board to redevelop. And if he plays a Jade card, then you're back in the same situation again. And so that's why he's making this swipe so appealing. He wants Zalae to swipe here. He wants the ability to just play this Aya on a naked board.
That will be such a blowout.
It's absolutely crazy. We've seen this happen a few times with the Jade decks. If you draw the Jade cards, you can't really stop a Jade deck. It's insane. Even the most aggressive decks in the game can sometimes struggle if you draw a bunch of Jade cards, just because you can't kill them fast enough before they really start ramping up.
And they represent something more than just a Jade Golem. As an example, Jade Lightning, right? It's a perfect defensive card to kill a minion from your opponent and still develop your own board. Jade Claw, the same. And someone just opened an Archmage on Tinnitus.
Someone just opened an Arc. Okay.
Okay, there's a saving grace for Zalae. We have seen that he has 2 days ago, actually, right?
Yeah, he's got a chance.
He played 2 Call of the Wilds from 2 Yogs, right? If I remember correctly.
Right, yeah.
Although the first one killed him.
The first one killed him, yeah. It hellfired him afterwards. It gave him basically an unkillable board that would win him the game and then killed him, which is hilarious. So that's what he's playing to. He picks up the Jade Blossom here off the Nourish so he can ramp into that Yogg. I mean, just ramping in general is good here, not necessarily into the Yogg.
It creates a 3/3 Jade Golem.
Yeah, you ramp your mana, you ramp your Jades. Fantastic.
But next turn, PF will play Jade Spirit, Spirit Echo, get an Aya back and a Jade Spirit. Now, I don't know if a Druid can keep up with that at any given point of the game. Just that additional 1 Aya.
It's so tough,
horrible.
yeah.
And Zalae plays around it. Look at that.
Wow. Solid play there.
He actually adds damage on the board just to play around Spirit Echo.
Yeah. Well, I mean, his win condition at this point is killing everything with Yogg, exhausting PF out of resources. So if the Aya is able to come back to PF's hand, there's no way that's going to be able to happen. So, yeah.
So this turn he has to just be as defensive as possible. Is that even... Okay, so he plays Primordial Drake. He doesn't kill anything. He can add 5 HP to his 13. He'll be at 18. His Drake will have 9, so he will soak up the 7/7 and the attack from the weapon, and that leaves 11, 13 damage going to his face. 16 maximum, 17 actually with a roll of a Air Power Totem with the Lightning Bolt. That's the maximum possible from his opponent, so he will be alive.
Okay. That's all he needs to be to play Yogg. So it works out quite nicely.
Is there any other consideration?
I'm not seeing it too much else.
Okay.
Going with the Jade Blossom, adds another spell for Yogg, and then he can Feral Rage, Hero Power, Earthen Scales.
So if he uses Feral Rage for...
Yeah, you got a Feral Rage for armor.
11...
Max life.
But that's not more than Primordial Drake and...
Well, Primordial Drake's vulnerable to Devolve and Hex, though.
Yes, that's true. That's a good
Which can
point.
be a problem.
26. So that's 5, 11, 18, 20, 22, and Lightning Bolt.
So, as PF, you have to assume that this is maybe a Yogg setup. When your opponent aggressively heals like this and plays all of their spells.
That's enough.
Is the boar kills him?
The boar was actually the opponent that he needed, right?
The boar kills him. He rolls for it and is able to get lucky. Now he doesn't have to worry about Yogg. So good on him taking that out, using that Maelstrom portal there to check for it.
So he had a chance to roll Air Power Totem, but instead Maelstrom portal was just better. And this is not the first time we have seen, you know, Stone Tuskboard finish up a game, but usually that's a rogue that uses that card.
Sure, yeah, usually it's Quest Rogue with the Stone Tusk Boars, but hey, not too bad of a finisher in Shaman as it turns out. A lot of players miss that. Some people don't realize that there's a couple chargers. You can get Patches, you can get Stone Tusk Boar. If you got a weapon up, there's the deckhand available to you as well.
3 out of like 30 or something like that.
I don't know, there's not that many 1-drops. There's only got to be like 29, 30 1-drops.
That's actually a huge chance, 10%.
Yeah, it's not unheard of to be able to get it there. He had 2 Maelstrom portals, so if he didn't get it on the first one, he had another try as well.
All right, well, it's 2-2 between PF and Zalae. Just to remind you guys, this is a best of 7 conquest, 1 ban. And this time we'll have the Günther Mage. By the way, why is it called Günther?
Why is it called Gunter Mage? I have no idea, actually. But people call it everything nowadays. They either call it Gunter Mage, Discover Mage, Burn Mage, Hybrid Freeze Mage.
Such a weird name. I have to actually ask someone who knows.
Maybe a guy named Gunter made it first. I don't know. It's a good deck, though, and it's fairly strong against Paladin, just because the Paladin's a bit slow, and the Mage has enough burn in it to close out the game, especially Zalae's variation. He's teched in Burgly Bully, he's teched in Archmage Antonitis. These inclusions kind of allow it to have ridiculous amounts of burn. You know, you look at double Fireball, double Frostbolt, double Medivh's Valet, the Alexstrasza being 15 points of burn, the Pyroblast, and then the Antonitis generating 2 or 3 Fireballs, and you can just outburn even the Ragnaros Lightlord healing and the Forbidden healing. So the burn plan is almost always available for Zalae, and you should try and focus on drawing as many cards as possible and burning out his opponent. Which, the Acolyte here, a little greedy playing into Coin True Silver. Now he only gets 1 card off of it. That's a big deal.
So in your opinion, he should have kept it for 10-5 just to ping it?
I think so. I think you can afford to play that slow against Control Paladin. Like, what threats are you worried about them developing onto the board? I think guaranteeing 2 draw is more important.
The one thing that you just have to be worried about is to clean small minions before turn 6.
Yes, that's a big deal. That's the only thing that can really get you is when the Tarim just like snowballs out of control. So
not only that, but also the Spikerid Steed, right?
The Spikerid Steed as well. But the Spikerid Steed you got Polymorph for. You'd prefer to save it for Tyrion, but the Spikerid Steed is usually just like a 3-attack minion, so you can kind of just ignore it most of the time. But Tarim can set up a big board that actually pushes the damage quick enough.
And PF is actually drawing those minions, drawing that Spikerid Steed as well, so Zalae might be facing a really difficult decision of what to use on the Polymorph.
Second-rate Bruiser is pretty solid to fill out the curve for the following turn.
Well, the Shigber and the Ozuk are just like kind of lackluster.
Yeah, oh yeah, they're just garbage.
I don't think you have a single elemental in the Paladin deck.
No. He's taking the Shield Bearer.
Ooh, okay, maybe he wants to complete the quest. Oh wait.
Well, yeah, I guess he wants a target for the Spikerid Steed as early as possible. So he's thinking he plays Spikerid Steed on 6, then go Shield Bearer Spikerid Steed on 7. It could work out.
I can see that. I can see that.
Excuse me, you
Huh. It's a bit wild.
No, it's standard.
Okay. The standard Shield Bearer play.
For a second, I thought that Zalae might be baiting out the attack from the True Silver Champion just to kind of try to make the man of him survive a turn. But at the same time, I feel like you value tempo more in this matchup than just being greedier. When it comes to at least the minions, you had been discussing this with the Acolyte of Pain, and I can understand that, because Acolyte of Pain gives you card advantage.
Yeah.
But Man of Him never will give you that.
Right. Its only purpose is to try and push chip damage, force your opponent to have to deal with it. So if you can play it on an empty board, that's a good board to put it on. Force your opponent to have to act with it.
So that was a small consideration of just playing this Shield Bearer, because it most likely doesn't die. It would have to be met with a Frostbolt or second Medivh's Valet.
Yeah, and if it's not met with anything, then you could land the Steed on it, but...
On turn 6, right?
Yeah, he's holding it back for that turn 7 Shield Bearer Spikerid Steed, which he's hoping baits out a Polymorph, and then he plays Tyrion. So he's got a plan there. And meanwhile, Zalae's going to be developing his board to the best of his ability. Not really a great turn for him. He's hanging essentially 4 mana because he has to hero power face, which is not very good.
And it nails the better target. That's pretty sweet because this turn was kind of sad.
Yeah,
what we could have done would just play the Wicked Flame, and that plays directly into the hero power from the Mage. Trades with the fresh Valet. After the Consecration being played, that almost doesn't change anything.
Right. But one thing the Kodo does do is line up very bad against Firelance Portal.
That Untitled Chapter got buffed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's most likely going to be met with equality anyway, but it is interesting. If there is no equality, it's a lot harder for him to kill it. And this minion sticks around and continues buffing. We could get Pyros to the point where it's bigger in this form than in the second form.
Very optimistic, but yes, can happen. How do you feel about... That's a theoretical question that of course depends on the board state and the matchups and so on. But do you feel like keeping the glyph even when you can use it before Antinidas is worth it? Like you can do...
Well,
two ways,
you can
right?
wait until you have 9 mana and then go Antinidas, Glyph, and then pick a spell that you can play for 0 that turn, creating 2
Exactly.
fireballs. So I like saving for that. I also think at this point in time, pushing 6 damage is enough. I don't think we need to polymorph Tyrion. I think at this point you can go like polymorph Pyros and just kind of push the damage through.
Counter spell. Spellbender is actually amazing, but unfortunately one Spike Receipt was already played.
Yeah.
But that means you will play around the second one, like 100%. While Counter spell might be better against the healing spells, but it's terrible against secrets.
It's really good against healing spells, and it's really good against equality. So taking the counter spell, you could have tried to protect your Archmage Antonidas from equality with it. So I'm actually kind of curious he chose the Spellbender there.
Some information being given to PF. The draw this turn was actually a minion.
Well, the Spellbender works out a lot better now that the Hydrologist is picked up for PF. Secrets won't be able to defuse Zalae's secret.
And Zalae is now able to play Antonidas. Spellbender first, of course, Glyph. See what's gonna happen. Get a Fireball in hand, then another one, maybe even a third one. That's so much burn, even with those two, as you said actually. Even with the Dragnaros and the Forbidding Healing, you might not have enough time. Huh, interesting, he just went for the Glyph first. So he was
Greater
looking
Arcane
for the
Missiles.
Polymorph, right?
Does a lot of damage.
He can even guarantee, well not guarantee, but he can...
If two of the
There's a
missiles hit it,
chance,
it's
yeah, there's a
pretty
chance he
sweet.
will push for a lot of damage.
And even if he doesn't push for a lot of damage, he has the Pyroblast, which sets up lethal. But those were the ideal Greater Arcane Missiles for him. He's going to be able to push face. Wow.
4/4 Pyrus. I mean, it doesn't matter, but it's just a fun thing to see.
Yeah. You just can't withstand the Mage burn, man. The Paladin's too slow to pressure the Mage. It has all the time in the world to just do what it wants. And what it wants is to chuck burn at your face.
Alright, this then you need to go for the Antonidas, right?
One of the great things about the Antonidas coming out is it does make it a lot harder for your opponent to play Ragnaros Lightlord. So it limits one of their healing possibilities, because Lightlord is 8 mana to extend onto the field. So you'd have to kind of combo it with Equality and face tank an Antonidas. Otherwise, infinite fireballs are being threatened. So it could act to do that, which is not bad. So I don't hate the Archmage Antonidas. You're only getting 1 fireball, though, so is 16 damage enough to close out this game?
After you have seen Forbidden Healing, there's only Ivory Knight left.
Ivory Knight and Rag Lightlord, yeah.
Yeah.
But Rag Lightlord's a problem. That's an 8/8 still, so
That you probably will have to kill with the Pyroblast.
that you probably will have to kill with a Pyroblast.
But in this situation, 2 glyphs were already used. This is why I was just so curious that he didn't go for the Antonidas last turn just to get more burned immediately, right?
Yeah, it's a little strange. But he's even getting the ping in there.
8/10
back the Pyros.
Antonidas! Don't see that often, huh?
Yeah. There's no equality. He's got nothing. You can heal for 8, but that's not great.
And Eye for an Eye doesn't
He could,
help.
what he could do is try and get Sunkeeper Tarim here off the Stonehill Defender to then be able to kill the Archmage Antonidas.
That would be a
Otherwise, I
sweet
feel
move.
like if it's living, you're going to lose the game. It's going with Redemption.
Huh.
You know your opponent has one Fireball. Currently, he's dead on board.
Well, I guess it didn't really matter that
Yeah.
much, but I mean, given his hand. But
Well, if he had gone for Stonehill Defender, hit the Sunkeeper Tarim, he goes down to 13, killing the Archmage Antonidas, has a taunt in the way. Pyroblast comes in, then he heals for 8 with Rag Lightlord. He's still alive. So,
he can play the Stonehill Defender now to see that he has Tarim inside it and just concede.
okay. Here, this is the play. Okay, interesting. 2 Fireballs does not kill him. But the problem with this line is...
That kills him.
Well, it just gives Zalae so much extra burn after the fact.
And also, the Wicked Flame doesn't guarantee any heals because it can just
Well,
pass.
no, he dies on board to the... Oh, no, because there's the Redemption. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, he just passes. He would just Fireball him in the face twice, ping him in the face, pass, and then Fireball him in the face twice next turn.
Exactly. So, Zalae takes it to game point from his side, 3-2 against PF. The Mage overwhelming Paladin with Burn, nothing unorthodox here.
Yeah, it's so tough for PF's Paladin deck to kind of close out games. He was so close against that Jade Shaman, winning it with his kind of unique way that he played the matchup, but not able to close it there, and Zalae's really farming that Paladin, not having any win conditions against all of his mid-rangier decks.
I love those decks with no win conditions. Like,
And they're so great against aggro, but
Yeah.
that's kind of the cost you pay. They're so bad against the control decks. So the big struggle here for PF, and now he has to utilize this Paladin to get a win against Jade Druid, which is not impossible. One of the best ways he can. Wow, do you see that mulligan? He kept True Silver Stonehill Defender Spike Ridge Steed, which
that's a very far-fetched plan.
it's a bold mulligan. He's hoping that he's ahead on board going into turn 6, and he's hoping he can get maybe Sunkeeper Tarim or Tyrion off this Stonehill Defender. But yeah, aggressive keep for PF here. Keeping a 6-drop. Spike Ridge Steed is one of the more powerful cards in the matchup, though. If you are able to land it, Druid has a really hard time beating high health minions. So he needs to get off to a fast start, get a bunch of things on the board, and either land Spike Ridge Steed or Sunkeeper Tarim on 6. That's how PF wins this matchup. And then you can just out-tempo the Druid. But
which can't most likely happen
Yeah.
if Zalae has mana acceleration. Because then Zalae is able to just keep up the board, board pressure with bigger and bigger threats, and
Zalae mulliganed away Innervate. He does not want to be getting ahead on board quickly. He wants those Innervates to be able to go infinite faster. So he's mulliganing it away in hopes to find Wild Growth, Jade Blossom. Even Nourish is a little bit better, I guess, in his mind. He wants the Innervates at the late stages of the game where he can play it with Gadget, draw his entire deck to go infinite. Kind of interesting.
yeah, I'm thinking about it. It's like,
Well,
can
there's
you
nothing you really have
justify
to
that?
interact too much with, but the problem with mulliganing Innervate is PF's main game plan is getting ahead on board and landing Spike Ridge Steed on 6.
Yeah.
So if that's his game plan, Innervate can kind of stop that sometimes. So, I don't know.
we'll have to see. If
We'll have to see if it'll work out. If he's able to still just keep PF off the board without the usage of Innervate, then it's fantastic because it helps him out later on in the game for it to be in his deck when he's cycling. But if PF is able to run him over, then obviously he would have preferred to have Innervate so he wouldn't get run over.
Yeah, for PF, there's a ideal scenario would be to hit a on-curve taunt minion for turn 4.
Oh, there's the Sunkeeper Tarim. That's a
That's a snap
fantastic
pick.
card. Yeah.
Gives a lot of information for Zalae.
A little bit, yeah. You see the snap pick come out.
And if it's not a game played next turn, that means that it's not something on curve, and yet it's so powerful, it warrants the pick like instantly, in milliseconds after the discovery. So most likely Tyrion or Tarim.
Zalae could try and trade in here with the 1/1 to play around Consecrate a little bit. Yeah, he's going to take that. the Consecrate on turn 4 into Coin Spike Ridge Steed is something that scares him. So he's trying to make sure that he can kill the Stonehill Defender going into PF's turn 5 so he can't coin a buff on it. So very good play around that Consecrate.
So this is super interesting. PF plays directly into turn 5, but if that happens and Zalae has the Harrison Jones, he has a free way for his Spike Ridge Steed to be landed actually.
Yeah, he would love to see Harrison Jones come out right now. He would love to be able to land a Spike Ridge Steed, so...
Only the Innervate would stop that.
The Innervate... Yeah, the Innervate would stop that, but now this is huge. Is Zalae going to actually go with the Harrison Jones, or is he going to Jade Blossom Hero Power and deny the Spike Ridge Steed?
I feel like Jade Blossoming is better, because that True Champion will probably not attacking the 2-2 next turn anyway. You don't give information that you have it actually, the Harrison Jones either, so I like it.
Yeah, I love this play. Very good play here. You can't let him have a minion going into turn 6. That you lose if they land Spike Ridge Steed on 6. That's how they're able to get the gas to be able to land their other Spike Ridge Steed. Makes Tarim terrible for you. You have to clear the minion there. Even though Harrison Jones is so appealing, this is definitely the better play.
Well played by Zalae. And he's ahead on board. And he has Nourish, like... This is the setup for Nourish, basically. If you're ahead on board, you have time to play Nourish to refill your hand, which is needed. Because he is kind of running out of resources. Which is not cards, but it's Jade Golems.
Sure. True Silver goes into the 3-3. He's setting up a Doomsayer. Zalae has the punish to this, though. When you see your opponent set up a Doomsayer, and you can't really remove it, but you can still spend all of your mana, that feels great. He has the ability to just Nourish, draw 3 cards here, ignore the Doomsayer if he wants, set up for his future gadgets and what have you. He also has the option to try and remove it, but he preserves just about nothing, so it's really bad.
If he would just also expand the board at the same time, that would probably be worth it.
Yeah, but he's not expanding the board while killing the Doomsayer, so it's just not worth it. You could try and cycle a Wrath if you wanted. He does have not too many proactive plays in his hand.
Alright, well, the Doomsayer goes off. Ivory Knight will pick a spell. Adaptation, Consecration, and Silver Moon Portal.
Okay. Adaptation has the best chance of getting something really powerful. So
Poisonous comes to mind as a first option.
Right, the Poisonous Wild Pyromancer play. All sorts of stuff like that.
That would have letters. I actually never saw it in a competitive tournament yet. Or
Yeah, neither have I, actually. I've only seen it in the Disguised Toast YouTube video. So, I want to see it happen. But
alright, for Zalae, he is hitting like the ceiling when it comes to mana. So Wild Growth can only be played in 2 ways. Either this turn to guarantee hit to 10 earlier, or just be kept for the Gadsden Auctioneer. And as you explained, he would love to go infinite with the Jade Idols.
right, he wants as much draw as he can possibly get out of this gadget. So it makes sense, ramp up to 10 mana, have the most mana available for your gadget, and just be really patient. He's not under any pressure, and in the later stage of the game, his deck just wins. So the longer this goes, the better it is for Zalae. So the fact that he's not facing down tons of damage is perfect for him. It all just comes back to not letting Spike Ridge Steed come down on 6. That's why he's in such a great position at the moment. Not Harrisoning a True Silver.
Yeah, that was a very good decision by Zalae.
That was the play of the game right there.
And it can be easily overlooked by many players.
Sure. Yeah.
Like it's like snap pick, turn 5, Harrison Jones, draw a card, destroy True Silver Champion. Such value.
Yeah. But it would have been so bad if he had done that. Okay.
So first time goes down like kind of in an easy fashion.
Yeah, it's a tempo Tarim. He's not playing the Tarims like he was against the Shaman.
Yeah, he
against the Shaman,
style.
he was trying to play for value. He was trying to outlast every threat. You can't do that against Jade Druid because Jade Idol does actually go infinite. So he's playing the Tarims to try and get board control, try and be able to land these steeds and put pressure on Zalae. And Zalae's trying to see if there's any way he can fully clear off this board nicely. If he picks up an Innervate, maybe.
That would be amazing. 1 Jade Idol is still left in the deck. 2 Innervates. Oh my. It's
Yeah.
fantastic.
The innervate he
draw.
mulliganed away in the beginning is now coming back to help him. And just allow him to cycle through his deck faster so he can get to the end game goal faster. He can now full clear the board. One true silver champion
Oh
is
my
used. Oh my,
God,
he's got the
God.
shuffle now. Now he's going to be drawing a bunch more idols. That's insane.
He's kind of running out of time though.
He's running a little bit low on time.
Will he use the
The
every single
animations
pot
are
of mana?
happening. So it looks like he did a bunch of stuff and things.
I think he didn't use everything.
I think he just queued up both the Wraths and the board's clear. I'm fairly certain.
That was just an amazing turn.
Yeah, that's what he's been setting up for the whole game. Yeah, he wasn't able to queue in the second Wrath, it looks like.
Unlucky.
Yeah, he ran out of time there. Thought a little bit too hard before committing to the gadget turn. But he's in a fantastic spot to take it. How many times did he shuffle into his deck that turn?
Once.
Once? Okay. And then he drew one of the idols, so he's got 2 more idols remaining in his deck.
The fact that he actually missed the Wrath is pretty big.
It is a... Yeah, it allowed the Primordial Drake to come down and give
Otherwise, it
PF
had to
more
be
tempo.
Truce of a Champion.
Yeah, he would have had to commit to that, which would have made it so he couldn't develop anything else besides the hero power. So yeah, that was... The timing there, very expensive for Zalae.
He's still ahead. That's the nature of the beast of this deck. So doesn't really matter that much. He can just go with multiple big minions.
His deck is getting very small. He's got to be in like approaching the single digits of cards. He still has another gadget and another nourish remaining, so he's going to be able to be infinite this game. He's cycled enough throughout his deck, which means equality isn't that big of a deal for him. So he can just extend pretty aggressively. Micrid Steed picks up a lot of value here.
Well, there's the Pyromancer for that adaptation.
He does have that. That could work. I want to see him just like Spike Ridge Steed this twice and then try and adapt Wind Fury on it and just kill him with that dragon.
That would be hilarious.
That would be awesome. Because you could Spike Ridge Steed, take some trades with it, then try and Spike Ridge Steed it again next turn, heal it up, for example, and then adapt Wind Fury, go ham with an 8 damage Wind Fury Drake.
Many people actually overlook the fact that Forbidden Healing can be used in minions.
Right, and in these kind of tempo matchups, that's the most value you can get, because if you fall too far behind on board, you're going to die, so...
Well, you're gonna die to 2 attacks, literally.
Yeah, at the end of the
Like-
game, so the healing doesn't
You're
matter.
gonna get clapped.
Yeah, so what you really need to do is be ahead, and healing minions helps you get stats on the board.
Even in the light of like just losing 2 golems here to the Spike Ridge Steed Primordial Drake is not really that terrible when you can just refill the board with another behemoth.
Oh yeah, you just trade them both in, drop more Jades, keep on keeping on.
The other option would be just to play double swipes, because that allows you to kill the Primordial Drake with the 5/5 and then kill the Stegadon with the 6/6. So you come into next turn with basically ahead. Your opponent still needs to use the second Truce of a Champion, and you have the Hearthstone Jones actually.
Okay, he's going to use Earthen Scales so we can take a value trade here, and then the swipe can come down alongside
Hero power. Oh wait, no.
using out the next Jade. Yeah.
Okay, so he goes for the Behemoth instead.
It keeps an extra 7/1 alive, and is able to clear through it. Interesting.
I'm not sure what to think about this. It's not so straightforward right now when it comes to those Jade turns. I've been, joking about the Jade Druid decks that are so straightforward you actually don't need to think at all. But that's only for the first turns, when you just play on curve. In this case, this was a very complicated one.
Yeah, that was a weird turn by Zalae for sure. Definitely made it a lot more fancy than I think he needed to, but seems to be working out just fine.
1 Jade Idol left in the deck, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And the second Spike Ridge Steed, it's also crucial information for Zalae, because if he gets rid of that, he has a, let's say, highway to his opponent's face.
There's not going to be very many roadblocks. There's still Tyrion as the taunt that can kind of shut things down, but Spike Ridge Steed is the one that really slows down your minions from being able to connect to phases. It requires 2 trades to be able to deal with 1 Spike Ridge Steed minion a lot of the time.
What do you think about the double swipe this turn. Well, but actually not maybe double swipe. Swipe,
Just one
Wrath.
swipe can get the job done.
Yeah.
You can swipe the 2/2, honestly. But the double swipe does clear all the way through the minion. And then you play the other Jade Golem, trying to set up for potential lethals. You got 15 on board.
It's actually exactly lethal. Next turn with the Feral Rage and Hero Power.
It's only 20.
Oh, sorry, 20. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
He needs a
I would be
second Feral
terrible
Rage.
at blackjack too.
Yeah. It needs the second Feral Rage.
That's awkward.
Well, you can Sunbeam for Tarim, I
has to
guess.
be Tarim, right?
Well, you could also try and take the trades with Rag Lightlord. Rag Lightlord Redemption, I guess. It's not fantastic. He's going to face tank it. He's a man.
He didn't draw a single Peacekeeper yet, right?
Right.
That's unlucky.
Yeah, he's going to be wanting those. 13 damage available for Zalae. Not many cards left in his deck.
One Jade Idol left in the deck for Zalae, so he can still keep that Auctioneer in his hand. Actually, what he has to do is just set up a good board state, and I feel like just going for the Harrison Jones, see the draw, get Jade Spirit on the board, create monumental board presence, and just push for 8 damage is the
Right.
thing that he wants to do.
And then your opponent has to equality, then they do the equality clear, and then you reload with your other Jade cards that you're going to be drawing off the Harrison and the Wrath, for example.
Yeah.
And the Gadget is going to be drawing into your other Jade minions. I'd love to see the Harrison come down. Holding back that Harrison Jones. I guess might as well save it for the Ashbringer, sure.
But we're getting closer and closer to fatigue. So it's like,
But you never hit fatigue, you're Jade Druid.
yeah, that was the joke.
Oh, okay. I thought you were serious for a second. Sorry, it's getting
I
late.
tried to sound serious actually for a
Okay.
second.
Okay.
We have seen this strategy being actually played out in previous matches, right? When players were just keeping the Harrison Jones in hand till they can play them without a weapon.
Right. Yeah, we saw that in a lot of these control
Yeah.
matchups, especially Paladin mirrors. A lot of the time, they can't afford to Harrison Jones and Ashbringer because drawing 3 cards is too painful.
Even 2. Or even 1. Like with PF versus RDU, came down to 1 fatigue draw.
Yeah, that's a big deal. We are seeing the adapt here on the Ragnaros
Stealth.
Lightlord.
Permanent stuff would be incredible.
Eh,
Well,
plus 3 health, so it's alive on board. The Wrath can help Zalae kill it if he needs to. But
That
does
was
have
redemption, right?
Yep. So if the Wrath is being utilized to help kill the Ragnaros Lightlord, there won't be a Wrath to finish off the 8-1. But Zalae has so much life, he can face tank it with joy.
He's sitting comfortably at 41.
Yeah,
That's
not a
just
bad
sick.
place to be. You can also draw with Nourish this turn and then shuffle Jade Idols into his deck. Set up for the Gadget in the future.
Oh, we
a pretty
completely
good
forgot
card.
about Aya.
As long as he doesn't play Yogg this game, he's going to be doing alright. Just needs to not play that Yogg's run. He could get tempted to do it. He needs to not.
That's the one way he can actually lose this game.
So, you could Feral Rage it. Oh, he's 0 power in first. He's not playing around this Redemption at all.
Well, he's playing around Noble Sacrifice.
Yeah, he's playing around Noble Sacrifice. Nah, this is awkward.
So he wants to ignore
Ignore the Light Lord.
Ragnaros? I think so. No.
He's going to kill it.
Okay, so he kills
It's
it.
going to
with-
come back. He's going to use both his Golems here.
So he's
Oh,
thinking
geez.
about, well, this is Getaway Kodo, and I'm gonna push for 8 anyway.
Right.
It turns out it's Redemption, and now it's really awkward.
Yeah, this is a whole mess now. Nice, you got to trade it. It could heal itself back up.
Yep, that would be a disaster. This turn could have been played better, but at the same time, it's hard to play around secrets that you don't know. You know, you have no information what they
Zalae
are.
is,
right?
he sees the finish line in his sights, and he's starting to slow down a little bit. Needs to readjust, stay focused in. The race isn't over yet.
There's a Jade Idol.
But yeah, Jade Idol, pretty good here. Fandral, Jade Idol, Feral Rage.
Killed the Harrison Jones. Yeah.
Yeah.
That seems
That seems like a good way to do it.
an incredible turn when you think about it.
Fantastic.
And next turn, if you get to draw the Jade Idol and the Fandral is still alive, then you go infinite with Gadsden.
Yeah. PF has a Sunkeeper Term and a Dream.
Seems like Zalae is actually looking to close this match up 4-2. Oh, there's an answer.
But can
Prolongs
he
the
answer
agony.
the next one?
Prolongs the agony.
Eventually, Zalae's going to slip and play this Yogg is what he's hoping for. So, during the pregame here, Zalae was doing a lot of push-ups, trying to get warmed up for the game. He may have a muscle cramp, which then causes him to grab the wrong card, which then will put Yogg on the field. So PF is playing towards all of his outs here, making sure he secures that.
I would love to see it, like, you know, goes, creates multiple minions, goes into Doom, draws 15 cards or something like that, 14 actually, maximum, and dies in the fatigue.
I'd play that Yogg. I would do it.
Right, another Tarim. It's like, it feels like the 7th or 8th Tarim from PF being played in this entire match.
PF has been tearing up this competition.
Wow.
He has just been on a roll with the Terrams. His Stonehill defenders, I'd say, about half the time have gotten Terram, but that is not going to be enough to defeat Zalae. Jade Druid taking it over that Control Paladin. The Control Paladin from PF being targeted so well by Zalae's lineup, it's very tough for his lineup to just beat the anti-control. We've been saying it all week. The lineup from Zalae seems unstoppable. He just has the right read on the meta, and he's been benefiting out of it immensely.
And now he's in the winner's bracket, so he's advanced
in the finals.
To the finals, yeah.
Yeah, he's getting second place,
at
worst
least.
case. Yeah. Which
exactly.
What is the prize for second place here?
5 or 6K, I think.
$5,000 or $6,000. Advancing to second place. You got to feel good about that, but he's not done yet. He still has the finals to play, but he awaits a challenger. PF knocked down to the loser's bracket, waiting to see if he plays against either RDU or Nyria. One of those two players will win. They'll play against PF for the chance to get a rematch against Zalae in the grand finals for that sweet, sweet first place prize and that cool trophy.
To be honest, like, whenever I think about those players like competing in the high-end tournaments, I never even, you know, it doesn't cross my mind that the players are thinking about money. They just think about the trophy first, because it's so important to have trophies in Hearthstone. I feel like that's the perception. Like in other card games, it's important to be in top 8, to be in the top 16, in those huge tournaments, to be consistent, right? But in the Hearthstone community, I feel like they don't cherish enough people who are consistently putting top 8s, you know?
Sure.
So they just remember the winners of the entire tournament.
Everybody likes some first place titles. First place titles do get you a lot of attention. So the more of those you can get under your belt, the better for sure. So
I feel like most players are still, you know, getting that motivation because of that title, because of that trophy that they can hold their, you know, in their hands.
RDU and Nyria have a chance to try and earn their way back to fight for that trophy, and we're going to have that match ready for you right after this.